He was on duty. He was in the Navy, and I can't remember which president died. Which president died in the 40s? Like 44 or 45. Was it a Roosevelt?
Sure.
And he was, one of the duties they had in the Navy was to be in charge of the Constitution, the USS Constitution, which is in the dock down there. You guys remember going there?
Yeah.
With Chris. And it was, it was a decorative kind of duty. And he was in charge, and the president died, and he knew that there was something they were supposed to do, because that ship was declared as the, what's the word I want? It's like the home base ship of the commander of the area there. And they had just got done putting the cannon down inside the boat. And the way they made the Constitution, all of the holds are offset, so that if water came in, it wouldn't flood all the, go right down below. And it takes all day to put the cannon down inside the thing with ropes and pulleys and all that sort of thing. So he tried to call the commander, who was at a Christmas party, and find out what did he want us to do, because he knew that you were supposed to not only put a flag up, but you were supposed to do a cannon salute. And they couldn't get a hold of the guy. In the meantime, he put all the other guys on leave. On hold. They were supposed to go ashore on leave. And he made them all sit there and wait. And he wasn't getting the guy. And finally he said, wait a minute, we can designate any ship as the flagship of the commander. So he called the guy's aide back and said, hey, how about if we take, thus and such another ship and make that flagship for the day? And like, great idea. And then all the other guys could go on leave. A little piece of history.
Did he fire the cannon?
No, they left it right where it was. Like I said, it took it all three, it takes all day to get it out, so they could just declare another boat as the flagship, and they could do what they needed to do. I don't know if they did their cannon or not.
What's the racing story?
The racing story. When he raced Glenn Cunningham?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was, I'm trying to think, he was Olympic runner.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he was practicing where they were. I can't remember why they were in the same place. I think that's in that book too, Nicole. And they were practicing, he and this other guy who ran track, going round and round and stuff. And they were with this other fellow, and all of a sudden he kind of beckoned to him. He said, go ahead, go on by, guys. You can go ahead and get to the finish line before me, and you can say that you beat Glenn Cunningham. And Dad was always proud to tell that, and I never knew exactly who Glenn Cunningham was, but
yeah, I didn't either.
An Olympic runner. So he and his buddy got to beat Glenn Cunningham to the finish. This is the rest of Sebago. The town line is like right up here, and then we're in Standish. And just before you get down to the intersection where the pothole is the house that my grandmother lived in. And my dad, I think some of his sisters were born there. I think he was born there too. So that's down in Standish. And then beyond that intersection is the cemetery where he's buried. And then beyond that, there's some woods that my grandfather owned, because he had a mill for a while. I think my grandfather was kind of like a jack of all trades and did a lot of different things. And when my dad got out of the Navy, he came back up here with my mom and me, and he thought he was going to make a living the same way. He had a degree in engineering from UMaine, and he was going to try to do something. And he couldn't make a living at it then, so then they moved to Massachusetts, and he worked there.
What did he do?
So he grew us up in Massachusetts. He was an engineer, civil engineer. So he worked for manufacturing companies. He started off at Bethlehem Steel. I can't remember, that might have even been before the war, and that's why he joined up the war into the war down there. And he met my mother when he was in the Navy.
When he was in the Navy?
Yep, my other aunt introduced them. I know, he was in the Navy with my uncle. You remember Uncle Boyd?
Yeah.
Do you remember him? They were in the Navy together, and my dad was his boss.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah. So we grew up, I was there, I think until maybe almost 2, down in Boston with him. I was born at the Boston Naval Shipyard Hospital.
Hospital changes that sentence a lot. I was like, what happened?
Boston Naval
Hospital. I'm like,
yeah.
Okay.
And they lived down in a little tiny house on C Street in Chelsea. And then they moved up here, and I lived down there with them in another little house that's on a side street down there. And then we moved to Massachusetts, and we all grew up outside of Worcester. Well, in Worcester and then in Shrewsbury.
In Worcester?
Yep.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Well, if you're from there, it's Worcester.
I know that.
Yeah, Worcester. Oh, look, there they are, putting up the balloons. Okay, we're
Traffic jam, big crowd. That's funny.